Anyone who's been doing woodworking long enough has run into this problem. You need a top that's wide, but you have narrow boards. So what do? Well, you take a second or third or fourth board and you join them together. And while that does seem rather simple on the surface, there are some things that can go wrong and there's ways to prevent them. So I want to show you how I'm going to do this glue up for this panel and the tricks along the way. Let's talk about the first mistake that can happen. And I'm going to use these two squares to give an example. We want the faces to meet exactly. Now if they don't meet, as you can see here, there's a gap. So let's see if I can show you. You don't want it to look like this, right? You need it to be full contact. So we want to look at our boards first of all, and if they meet fully from top to bottom, then you know everything is good. That is the very first start. If this is wrong, it doesn't matter what we do from this point, we're going to have problems. Let's say you're having an issue, and instead of the boards meeting with full contact flush, there's actually a gap on the top or bottom. So what can we do about that? Well, with this board right here, it used to be one long board, and there was a tiny discrepancy. So what you can do is you can take one of the sides, flip it, and then it will come together. Now, why is that the case? Let's say, for example, that your saw blade, so your table saw or your track saw, should be at 90 degrees to the table. But if it's slightly off, then obviously it won't be 90 degrees. But when you flip it, that other piece, it actually forms the corresponding angle, the complementary angle. And then it does line up flush. So what you could do is you could take the boards, run them through your table saw, just taking off just a little bit of the thickness, and then flip it. That way, instead of, again, so let's say you run this through, you just flip it like this, and they should line up. So that's one way to fix it. But let's talk about when you actually go to glue it up and what can happen there. So at this point, the boards, they come together and they're perfect, right? And here's the problem. When you go to glue up and you put that glue on there, they can go out of alignment. So what happens is a board can kind of shift upward, one can shift downward a little bit, and the surfaces are no longer flush. They're no longer one continuous surface, and then you have to either sand a ton of time away, or you use a hand plane, or send it through the planer or joiner or whatever, and that's just time wasted, and sometimes you can't even have the capacity because the piece is so wide. So how do we overcome that? Well, for me, I like to use something like this domino joiner, or you can use a biscuit joiner, and they all work on the same principle. So when you're taking either a biscuit joiner or a doweling jig or the biscuit or this, you can see here that I'm actually going to reference off this face. So it stays consistent to the height and the reference face. So I'm going to reference off the top here and the top here, and that way the offset is consistent throughout the entire piece. That way, when I put them in here, and I'll do that in a moment, you can see that it won't shift up and down. It's going to be held in place. Now with the domino, what's nice is it'll keep the boards from shifting this way and up and down. Now with the biscuit joiner, you are going to have a little bit more play, and obviously with dowels, you're not going to have any play at all. But the concept remains the same. You want to prevent these from shifting. Now, some people, what they'll do is they'll take a metal bar or a wooden piece of wood, cover it in cellophane, and then we press down on here, and that's one way to do it. I find this to be a little bit less fussy. Perhaps in some ways it can take a little more time, but I find it very effective for glue ups. So let's make some domino mortises real quick and then glue this up. So in just a moment, I'm going to put 5 dominoes in here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one in the center, one toward each end, and then right in the middle there. It's kind of hard to see it, but I use white to mark it. And then there's crosshairs in here where I'm just going to line it up, plunge it, and then keep going that way. So let me do that now. Again, if you're using dowels, biscuits, or dominoes, it all works the same. You put your alignment pieces into your board, and then you can put them together. So there's a little bit of technique with this. Let's see here. Okay. Make sure we got that there. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. Sometimes use a little rubber mallet to just give a little tap. And this feels flush. I want to make sure we're focused here. But when I run my hand over it, I mean, take a listen. It's not catching my fingernail. Slightly, I think, right here, but overall, it's pretty flat. So this did have a little bit of warp to it, but by and large, I was able to get most of it out. Now, what I may do because of this, I might add an extra domino. So if it's not totally flush, just add another domino or biscuit or dowel and it should get all flush. But otherwise, this is like 95% good. As you can see right here, this shadow is telling us that these boards are not completely flush, which I mentioned. So here's my little secret. I take a clamp like this, and then I begin to pull them back into alignment, and then that line disappears, and now I'm flush. So instead of using a domino, I just use the clamp trick, and once it's glued up, I'll take off the clamp, and it'll be nice and flush. We are now ready for the actual glue up. So I'm just going to, it's gonna be a little tricky, but we've got the alignment. So let's first this way. All right. Okay. It's like we're almost there. Why we always test it first. All right. There we go. So now we can tighten things up. I don't go crazy in the glue, to be honest. It's nice and tight. I'm just going to move this one a teeny bit over. Okay, so I'm just going to stop just a teeny bit. I'm going to get some of the squeeze out before I use my little clamp trick here. That way I don't smear the glue on the surface, but can always sand if I have to. So then we're just going to take this clamp right here and then just bring this last little bit into alignment. Alright, surface is not good. And now I'm going to do my final clamping here. I'm not going to worry about the back in terms of the glue. I'm just going to wipe off over here first. Now I want to more or less keep the last two lines intact that I used when I was doing my domino. That way if I have to shorten the sides more, at least I'll know I will at least know better where there's a domino at. That way I don't cut through it. You don't want to see that in the finished piece. So yeah, that's the glue up. So when I go over this, again, using the nail trick, your nails can pick that up. This is smooth. So now I take it out. I don't have to worry about the faces lining up. All right, with YouTube magic, it's been about an hour now, and it's finally able to come out. So I've already kind of loosened them. As I'm looking at this, I'm doing my little feel test with my fingernail. I would say this is almost perfect. Sometimes you're not going to get it 100%, but it's close enough. Take 120 grit, go over here real quick, and it will be perfect. So if you are doing panel glue ups, I suggest, again, using either dominoes, biscuits, dowels. It really helps with the alignment, saves you a lot of headache. Now, if you want to, you don't have those, you can always use the caul method, where again, using a straight edge over it to help align it. But I just find the dominoes to be really helpful for these glue ups, especially when it's an expensive wood like walnut here for a project. I'm getting paid a set amount, so I want to make sure that I don't have any mess ups, and it's worth it to me to take just a teeny extra time to make sure that everything comes out flush. Plus, even if you're not a professional, and I think honestly you're a professional, you may not be watching this, but if you are, welcome. more so for beginners, your time is valuable. So why not spend a minute or so and save an hour, down the road, rather than saving time up front and then having to pay the price later on. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful and interesting, and I will see you guys in the next one.